Okay, so you clicked on this video. That means one of three things. You are either one, agreeing with me and you just want to hear somebody justify your thoughts, which totally get it. Two, you are very curious and you just want to learn something new, which applause to you. Or three, you completely disagree with me and you just want to be rage baited, which I'm here for all of y'all. So let's talk. Today, in this video, I am going to be making the claim that horror is the most important genre that we have in media. Now that's a bold claim, I know, but I'm a bold person, so hear me out. Now, when we're talking about the horror genre, whether it be books, whether it be graphic novels, whether it be movies, whether it be anything that you can imagine in the art world, it often gets misconstrued in many different ways. I would say the general population has a pretty negative and narrow view of what horror actually looks like. Many consider it a lowbrow genre for sick people who enjoy violence and gore, and it's just to scare you. It serves no other purpose than to disturb. Oftentimes, the genre is not taken seriously whatsoever, and people will even go as far as to say that the entire fan base is somehow psychologically disturbed. I'm sure you've heard or even thought that before. So, with that being said, the point of this entire video and the point of this whole channel really is going to be to advocate for horror and to really prove just how important it is to culture and to society. First things first, I want to talk about the social commentary element. I truly believe that horror is the most unique and powerful vessel for social commentary that we have in the art world. Many may not know this, but horror is often very intentionally political. Horror works through the medium of fear, right? We're working with and exploring what we fear and why we fear it. This is such an important tool because by actualizing social issues or political issues into tangible monsters that people can see or imagine, it really highlights what we should fear about the issue and why we should fear it. First, I'm going to point to my very favorite genre of all time, Black horror. This genre is so inherently political, from Get Out to Sinners to Him to The Blackening to They Clone Tyrone. It is so inherent to the genre. Every single one of the movies that I just listed is either talking about a political issue or a social issue, maybe even both. And they're doing it in a way that includes some level of satire or some level of analogy. And that word analogy is going to be really important here, because when we look at a movie like Get Out, which is my personal favorite movie of all time, we can see that it is just an analogy for something that is happening in real life. We see the same stuff in feminist horror, like in The Stepford Wives or in Rosemary's Baby, or even in The Substance most recently, which I'm just going to say that The Substance is the best feminist movie that I have ever seen in my life. But that's besides the point. We can also see how horror movies explore social relationships. Both the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Wrong Turn explore the relationship between city folk and country folk and what that looks like. We can even say the same thing with something like Jeepers Creepers. Or another Tobe Hooper movie, The Funhouse. We see a very similar exploration of problems in Zach Cregger's movies like Barbarian and Weapons. And what I'm attempting to say with all of this is that political horror, social horror, as Jordan Peele has coined it, is inserting a certain level of terror where there normally isn't one. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to use the movie Weapons to explain myself here, just because I feel like it's very current and very relevant. My interpretation, and many others as well, was that Weapons was about school. My personal interpretation of the message was that Zach Cregger was trying to draw attention to the media surrounding school and how it draws attention away from the victims. The incident is often used for political and social gain, and there's not actually attention being drawn to the victims and the issues at hand. I believe here that Zach Cregger is inserting a terror into an issue that doesn't normally present itself there. And the reason that same terror doesn't ordinarily exist in that issue is because it has been so normalized in society. Therefore, inserting a new level of emotional terror surrounding this issue that should ordinarily have it. Again, acting as an analogy. I'll drive my point home further by talking about The Substance. The Substance comments on this demonization of aging, the aging woman, right? In my opinion, the whole point of this is to put on display just how much the aging woman loses their older years to this idea or being trapped in this younger version of themselves. And I believe that Coralie Farget, I believe that's how it's pronounced, is attempting to elicit a fear in this obsession with youth by using body horror. She's using sci-fi and gore here to put on display how truly tragic it is to not appreciate the body that you have at present, and instead, once again, be trapped in this idea of your younger self. Now let's move on to the unintentionally political. Horror both intentionally and unintentionally puts on display our relationship with violence, humanity's relationship with violence. We see this a lot with violence particularly, especially with the older horror movies. We see this a lot in the Terrifier trilogy, Sleepaway Camp, Friday the 13th, and other horror slashers that follow that same sort of formula. Just how much violence is put on display or discussed in society. For example, the first two Terrifier movies really sparked a discussion about violence and punishment towards women specifically in film, especially in horror movies. Damien Leone then responded to that criticism with Terrifier 3 by joining the conversation and reflecting on the violence portrayed in the first two films. So the first two movies weren't inherently political, but then with the response film, the Terrifier trilogy does become very much political. And in this way, I think horror movies really reflect the political tensions or the issues at present during the times. They really work with the current fears or the current discussions being had, and I think they're really time capsules in that way, which makes the cultural impact of horror movies so interesting. Because not only are we talking about political and social fears that society actually has that are influencing horror movies, horror also has an insanely strong impact on what people actually fear in real life. The movie Jaws had a crazy strong impact on how many people actually feared sharks when they went to the beach. Shark hunting went up drastically once people started being afraid of sharks because of Jaws. Even me, every single time I'm behind a log truck on the highway, I can't help but think about that scene from Final Destination. Which leads me into my next point about exploring fear. Horror movies, games, novels, even paintings give us a chance to explore what we fear and reflect on it without the real factor of danger. Why does reading a creepypasta and now turned novel like Pen Pal make me so uncomfortable? What terrifies me about the final reveal, right? It can also give us as a culture the opportunity to explore what we fear on a societal level. It gives us the opportunity to explore what society fears and expose what most of us may be lost on. Why, as a white person, are you afraid for Chris in Get Out? Why do the comments made toward him at the party make you uncomfortable? It's these kinds of questions that we ask ourselves that are so important, both individually and as a community. Now, with all the social commentary stuff out of the way, I would like to talk about horror as an artistic medium. Horror is one of, if not the most artistically accessible genres that there is. The main reason being that it is a very low budget way of creating. I'm going to point to the best example that I think I can and look at found footage. It is one of the most economical ways to get into film. The movie Creep was made for under $500 and it ended up grossing over $7.5 million worldwide. And some of our most famous horror movies were made on very low budgets, the biggest one being Terrifier and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Horror is also a very tight-knit and uplifting community, which is another thing that I really, really love about it. We have Kane Pixels, who started the Backrooms. He's a 17-year-old kid just posting YouTube videos, and now he's got a movie deal. We've got Scott Cawthon with Five Nights at Freddy's, who started as a small indie game, and now he's got dozens of video games, books, merch, and 2 feature-length films with a third one on the way. The Philippou brothers started on YouTube and now have 2 feature-length films again. And somebody like Dathan Auerbach, who started just posting stories on r/nosleep, and now he's a successful author. All of these are so impressive, and it's because the fan base, the horror fan base, is always looking for something new and niche to pick up and to really, really support. Horror also has so many subgenres to pick from, which means that horror can really encompass all other genres. We've got sci-fi horror, we've got psychological horror, we've got cosmic horror, we've got found footage horror, we've got body horror, we've got folk horror, we've got gore horror, we've got social or political horror like we just talked about. We have supernatural or monster horror. I can go on and on and on. I can point to horror comedy like The Blackening, horror action like Predator, horror romance we got Together, horror sci-fi, obviously Alien, horror adventure, The Descent, horror mystery, Strange Harvest, horror crime, Don't Breathe, horror drama, Night House, or a combination of all of them, Sinners. Again, I could keep going, but I promise I'm not going to bore y'all with that because I'm sure you get the point by now. But altogether, my goal with this video and with this channel, like I said, is to prove these misconceptions about horror wrong. I really want to put on display just how impressive horror is. So this channel is going to be focused on advocating for and analyzing different horror movies, different horror books, different creepypastas, anything like that that I just want to analyze and we can talk about it. I'm really excited to keep talking about this stuff and geeking out and nerding out with y'all in the comments. And I hope y'all enjoy it too. I hope y'all enjoyed this video and I can't wait to see y'all in the next one. Anyway, see y'all. Bye!